Hello everyone, welcome to the O7 podcast, a show exclusively about the films of 2000. Why are you laughing, Lucy? Is it just the slick professionalism of which I
great.
execute this?
Yeah.
Welcome to the O7 podcast, a show exclusively about the films of 2007. Why? Because, just because, but also there's so many good films from that year. I'm Tay Mawson, and as ever I'm joined by my co-host Lucy Alfred. Lucy, how you doing?
I am great, thanks. Different location today because I'm getting my flat decorated finally.
I love a bookshelf.
Yeah, obviously. We learnt this from the COVID years.
Yeah.
It's the only sort of nice looking thing going on in my flat right now. So I've tucked myself in on the corner of my sofa and have a very interesting looking setup.
We're bringing out one of the heavy hitters of 2007, I feel. The David Fincher 2007 film Zodiac.
Woohoo, finally!
I'm sorry, Lucy, have you been waiting patiently for this one?
I really wanted to talk about it, and I'm very glad that we have. And I've very much enjoyed watching it again, which I think was maybe the third or fourth time I've watched it.
I don't think it's a bad time, but I think in light of some of the films that we've talked about, I think this is an interesting one to do. But it was also, we'd be remiss if we didn't cover Zodiac at some point.
It's a great film, and it came out in the year we're looking at, so...
Yeah, I know, it ticks all the boxes. All right, I guess we should establish Zodiac. Lucy, tell us about Zodiac.
So Zodiac is a thriller based on the true story and investigation of the Zodiac killer, a serial killer who terrorized California in the late 60s, early 70s. The case remains open to this day, although the main suspect since passed away. And it follows the characters, the police officers, the journalists who were very close to the story and tried to unravel everything that was going on. It's a great film. Loved it.
I know I talked a while back about a YouTuber called Tom van der Linden, who he did an essay recently, a few months back, about he was comparing the Keira Knightley film about the Boston Strangler with the Fincher film Zodiac, and they are just leagues apart basically, and it just is an excuse to point out how Fincher and the cast elevate Zodiac above just a sort of standard procedural criminal investigation film. But it holds up so well, I think, this one. I was impressed at the time and surprised at how absorbed I was, and I didn't feel the running time, even though I feel like Fincher is deliberately slow with it. But we'll get into it. But I guess one thing to mention is we try to keep these records to like less than 2 hours, so we won't list all of the cast. But just like the key players. So we've got Jake Gyllenhaal, plays Robert Graysmith. We've got Mark Ruffalo, plays Dave Toschi. We've got Robert Downey Jr., who plays Paul Avery, who's a journalist at the San Francisco Chronicle, who also works alongside Robert Graysmith. Anthony Edwards, remember him? He is Dave Toschi's partner, Bill Armstrong. He's the note taker in this film, I noticed. They make a lot out of all of his information that he's noted down. Yeah. So he's a nerd. Brian Cox as Melvin Belly, who is a sort of a TV personality, but also does psychology. And the list goes on and on, frickin' hell.
Chloe Sevigny.
Everyone is in this frickin' film, basically, who isn't a woman, I noticed.
Yeah, glad you noticed that. I was going to talk about that. I feel like this is going to come up all the time in this era. Just, it's not really that many females. We need to talk about Stardust.
In the year 2007, you mean?
No, in the films we watch. It's just they're very male-heavy. Very male-heavy films.
I read that this film wanted to borrow the vibes of All the President's Men, Not a lot of women in that film either.
No, and also it reflects the era. There weren't that many
Yeah.
female police officers. There wasn't that many female journalists, people working at the paper. Like it tracks, but it's just a shame.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a fairly extensive, mostly male cast, but as you point out, we've got Chloe Sevigny, who I think really, apart from some victims of the Zodiac killer, is the only female character who has more than like a handful of scenes. And she plays the partner of Robert Graysmith, Jake Gyllenhaal. And just to kind of outline the plot, the film kicks off around the start of the Zodiac killer's spree, which you could argue is in 1966, but it really kind of kicks off in 1969. And then they kind of they trail back to 66 at like previous incidents, and then leads into the 70s. And it goes on and on and on, and ultimately is never resolved. And you get a mix of perspectives. So you get Graysmith's perspective initially as the kind of wide-eyed new body at the paper, who are just, the Zodiac killer is just starting to reach out to them as he starts to murder people. And then eventually you get the cops brought in, so you have Mark Ruffalo and Anthony Edwards, and you get more of their perspectives, principally Mark Ruffalo's character. And then the counterpoint is Robert Downey Jr.'s character. And this is the second instance, I think, that I had spotted of Downey Jr. being just himself, like the RDJ character that we know now. Basically Iron Man, right? I feel like we'd had Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and then everything post that is RDJ being funny and a little bit kind of flamboyant. And, And so he plays a very sort of well-regarded drug and drink-addled journalist, Paul Avery. He kind of becomes the outreach guy for the Zodiac killer. And so we interchange between all of these different perspectives over several years and just kind of chart their own personal journey through this investigation, when it starts, when it stops, how some people can't stop. And the things that some of the characters do in order to stop. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think to get into the granular nature of the plot is just too procedural, because it is a procedural film. It's just a series of kind of, investigations and exchanges of information that drives it along. And that should be terrible. But it is excellent.
It's so compelling. I think it's largely due to the fact that the story itself is compelling. Clearly it was, because certainly the nation of California were gripped by it. Particularly how high profile it was. The Zodiac's letters were printed in the newspaper, in the San Francisco Chronicle, and several other newspapers in California. He printed the cipher where you had to decode everything. It was intriguing. And so, it had to follow that linear narrative, because everything led on to the next piece of the puzzle. Yeah. And I think it would have been too confusing had they, jumped around left, right and centre. But, we love a bit of crime, don't we? This was actually pre our major love of true crime stuff, with the true crime podcast that we now know and love. But we've always loved a crime story. Look back to Agatha Christie. It's something that the average person does just find so interesting. I did actually watch a documentary about this a long time ago, and it was about the sort of the murder mystery and spooky story adoration we have around Christmas time. I don't know if you know about this, that there's always I think even this year there was a Christmas Eve murder mystery that was aired on the BBC, and it's almost like we have this, it's almost too cute and too good that we want to peek into the dark, murky underworld of murder and crime, and we all think that we're all that we could all do a better job than the cops because we watched a few films and listened to a few podcasts. But yeah, I think because of that love that we have for it, and because of how intriguing we find it, we don't find the episodic procedural narrative boring.
No.
But it is quite interesting, actually. Quite a few films we've watched and analysed have a very similar setup. Like, if you put No Country for Old Men and Zodiac together, they're actually very similar. Their framing, I mean, the colours are so much more beautiful in Zodiac. Love the colour.
Yeah.
I love how they even use colour to, like, denote that it's in a different time, like the 70s, yellow, golden.
Yeah.
And then later on in the 70s, 80s, it's all blue. But longer takes, just imagining putting them, like, frame for frame next to each other, quite similar.
Yeah, I guess they both speak to a set of directors who are just really confident. Right, so Fincher's obviously worked on this script for some time. I think he has some personal attachment to it, right? I think he was a kid in San Francisco when this was happening, and this is one of the things about this serial killer, was that he was widely speculated on. It was a puzzle.
Yeah.
It was a puzzle that just drew in Graysmith.
Yeah.
Because he loves puzzles. But it was also a point of, like, burgeoning media. So you had films that were reflecting it, and you had a public who were speculating on it, and, you know, even some people kind of like buying merchandise and kind of, you know, adding their own thing to it, which feels like the average week today in terms of it almost feels like early memification. And it feels like the start of that time where people were driven by media that they consume, and there's an interplay between personalities. They could be politicians or murderers or TV stars or whatever, and their audience, or the audience that they want to reach, and the mediums through which they do that. And this one just happens to feature a serial killer. And I couldn't not think about that and draw those parallels while I was watching it. But yeah, it's just extraordinary. And I think, I don't know about, like, the similarities to No Country for Old Men, but I definitely agree that in terms of, like, it is absolutely fine for it to take its time.
Yeah.
I'd say the one kind of split would be how there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of exposition in this film.
That's different.
No Country is more show. I think there's a lot of tell in this one, but it's not tedious. It's not. You're not rolling your eyes or looking at your watch, waiting for the next bit of information to come out. It's all structured in a way and delivered in a way that's just really compelling, and it brings you along with their investigation, which is, you know, superb. There's definitely a long list of things that I liked.
Yeah. I think. Well, let me show you my level of note taking.
Lucy, tell me what you liked.
Look at my notes. This is it.
Oh my God, this is like it's like a HR meeting.
I never make this many notes. Honestly, I normally get sort to, like, halfway through 3/4 and I'm like, oh, I don't need to make any more notes. I couldn't stop with this. Is it the sort of thing that I remember you jotting down for No Country, or where it's like quite unpleasant? Yes, I've got loads of these things. Yellow and brown. RDJ! Exclamation mark. Couple by the lake, tied up and stabbed. Phallus. What have we got? The power of a newspaper. Date with Chloe Sevigny. He's so weird. And then I said, it's like the film warms them up into their roles. And the way I want to actually go into that is, it feels like there's, like, chapters, which is, I think, very clever, because obviously it was based on a book. And there are almost even the story itself about the Zodiac and the letters and everyone's involvement in it actually ended up being in chapters in a way because of the sort of gaps in between letters.
Yeah.
And each chapter has a different sort of focal point. So you've got the kind of setting everyone up at the beginning. Then you've got the Bill and Dave chapter. And then you've got the Paul and Robert chapter. And then you've got the Robert chapter. And then it's like, and then it's done.
Yeah.
And it kind of introduces them all, and then it warms them all up, and then they're developed in those sections. Then I've got Dave eating, and it took me ages to remember what I wanted to say about Dave eating, which was, and I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, I think it was a nod to Orson Welles in A Touch of Evil from 1958, whose character is a cop who's really corrupt, and he eats the whole way through the film, and his eating is supposed to kind of signify his corruption, because he just literally like pollutes his body and gets like bigger and bigger and more bloated. And I don't know if that's necessarily what Dave is, because Dave isn't corrupt, but he's always eating. And I think that was like a nice little nod to that sort of classic Hollywood cop.
It's usually the coroner, isn't it?
Yeah, always munching like over a dead body. Mindhunter, underlined twice.
Oh, I did think about Mindhunter a little bit while I was watching this. Yeah. If anything, like if anyone takes something, if they've not watched Mindhunter, the one thing that they could take away from if they enjoy Zodiac is
go watch Mindhunter. Yeah, that's our homework.
Yep.
That orange Golf, though! Exclamation mark.
Oh, I freaking love that Golf.
Oh, it's so nice. What a car.
Yeah.
Oh. And then Basement.
Just it, one word.
Yeah. Basement and the details. That's what I love about this film. The details are so excellent. One of the details I noticed this time round was the attention to sound. Every different setting they're in, the cafe, the office, the diegetic like background sound of typewriters or of people talking in a restaurant, it's so great. It is such a great texture, and it's loud enough. It's loud, but not too loud. It's like the perfect mixing. I love that. But even down to Clea Duvall right at the end, she's the sister of one of the first, if not the first victim that we see. She's got like bruises in her arms because she's in prison. It's like, they didn't have to go that far, but it's so rich. Yeah, just excellent. That's just some of the many things that I liked or pointed out in my many notes.
You should do a separate feature on Lucy's notes. Just the sheer explosive expression. I just really loved I'm not going to say that San Francisco was a character, but the period San Francisco looks phenomenal. It just feels like such a well-built, well-made, artifice that you can train yourself to forget about that if you've noticed very quickly. I loved the pace as you did. The procedural aspects of it were never boring for me. It was I never felt like I was being spoon-fed. I love how the perspectives move from character to character. I love the little moments where they use Bill's birthday as a sort of marker, a mile marker, 3 times, I think.
Clever.
Really clever. That is a sort of little indicator as to sort of Dave Tosky's own inability to let this one go.
Yeah.
And even when it feels like Robert Graysmith is pulling him back in and he's resisting, like he's just kind of like doing a decent job of, trying to deter Graysmith. He throws him a little morsel every time and just goes, I can't help you. You need to stop doing this. But if you did want to know, then
you should speak to this person.
Yeah, you should go down to this thing at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
The basement scene, like you, I thought was really superb. I think that's one of the standout moments that people talk about. What I really like about it is not just the tension, but the guy who I can't remember the guy who played the projectionist, but you could never tell if he was just being sinister, like he genuinely had a a sort of a darkness about him, and that Graysmith was actually in danger, or if he was just being weird, or if he was fucking with Graysmith.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so well done, that stuff, and that scene in particular is where you get that kind of that textbook Fincher eye tracking stuff, where the camera is kind of moving at the same eye level as Robert Graysmith, and it really does pull you in. I kind of notice it a lot more on The Killer, but yeah, all of that stuff really, kind of trademark Fincher stuff.
Love.
I think, like most films, this had its fair share of retakes, and it's interesting reading all the stuff from the actors talking about how annoying that can be. But you don't see it, I don't think, in the film. No. And it's obviously, I think it's just his process and it works. I think I read somewhere there was like, Ruffalo was talking about, they did 56 takes of the first scene with him meeting Robert Graysmith. And they used the 56th take. So there is some merit. Wow. There is some merit to like allowing Fincher to do as many takes as he wants, because he's obviously, and there's all kinds of stories about how precise Fincher is. Like he'd walk past, they'd do like 20-30 takes, and he'd walk past Mark Ruffalo and just move a background actor just 2 inches to the left, and then walk back to the monitor and just sort of tap Ruffalo on the shoulder and go, good stuff, keep going. It's like that's how he's thinking. He's not just focused on Ruffalo's performance.
You can see the whole frame.
He's seeing the whole frame, which is insane. Like,
Such detail.
No one thinks like that in terms of like most films generally are an endeavour to get as much coverage as possible, to hide all the stuff that either goes wrong or you forget, or you haven't got it exactly the way you want it. You get enough extra stuff to basically cover your ass. Whereas I think Fincher, I don't know to what extent he storyboards, but like he clearly in his mind has very, very specific ideas. So you kind of, all of that is invisible to the viewer, I think. They just see a really well constructed, executed story.
It's very impressive, because it like you say, it goes completely unnoticed. But it's interesting the way that you were explaining that, because it was making me think of an artist painting, and obviously there's so many different styles. But I would say that anything that you see in a final painting has been deliberately placed where it's been placed, and it's been carefully crafted to be in the position that it's in.
Yeah.
And, why would filmmaking be any different to that? It also made me think of our chat about The Simpsons, because interestingly, we spent a lot of time talking about how the makers spent ages rerunning everything hundreds of times, redrawing everything, rewriting everything, and somehow it then meant that the film was lacking. So I think it's quite interesting that there must be some alchemy that goes on, or there's some sort of magic formula that they were missing with The Simpsons that David Fincher has, right? That where you can be really clinical and keep going and keep going and keep going until you get it right without it feeling overdone, which of course we were saying The Simpsons just felt like it was so overdone it ended up being nothing, there wasn't really much to go on. Whereas this, perhaps it's because it's the Zodiac story, so it's compelling. I don't know,
maybe it's a compelling story because we still don't know, and now can really never know, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was Alan. Just from,
everything. I mean, the film leans heavily towards that, right? There's a whole kind of epilogue at the end.
Yeah.
About that.
And what is the quote? Is Robert Graysmith didn't have any more heavy breathing phone calls after Arthur Lee Allen died. So.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, got to take everything with a pinch of salt, but it just, I feel like it was him.
Okay.
I got the ending I wanted.
Did you? Oh, yeah. I guess that's the main thing, isn't it? Is that if people come away from this film feeling like, at least if the story hasn't concluded completely, then at least they feel like they've watched a whole ass film. Which I definitely felt I did. There's loads of little touches that I really loved. So we've kind of talked sort of broad strokes. I love the fact that Gray Smith is such a bad dad. Like, he's just constantly recruiting. Well, to be fair to him, he does pull his kid off the bus, but I feel like that would have just created panic for everyone else on the bus.
Yeah.
But the way that he slowly recruits all of his family to kind of help become his little researchers.
Yeah.
Is really
Don't tell
funny.
mummy about our special project.
Yeah. That's really funny.
He's quite funny. He's quite a funny guy. He's like the comic relief in the film. Him and Paul, Robert Downey Jr. are like the comic relief for sure.
So Fincher liked him for the role because he'd seen Donnie Darko and he could see that he could do a combination of naive but also quite possessed, which, Gray Smith is definitely sort of just driven by knowing he needs to know. He can't not know who this guy is. So he's well placed for that. Yeah, I would say he is pretty funny. I think RDJ gets all the best jokes and all the best writing to kind of enable him to be RDJ.
Yeah.
The stuff with the blue drink.
The blue
joke
drink,
is
that's
great.
what I was about to say.
It's really funny.
He's like, we can't ignore this any longer.
Yeah. But also, and then it cuts to there's like 7 of them, 7 empty glasses.
Yeah,
but,
and there's a callback to it later when Robert goes to visit him on his boat, Paul on his boat, and he's like, do you want a drink? I haven't got anything blue.
Yeah. But also, there's stuff where Gray Smith is explaining things to him and he will just repeat the last word that Gray Smith says as if he's agreeing with him.
Yeah.
which is exactly what I would do if in a situation where I don't know anything. It's just be like, yes. Correct. That's right. That's what I thought. So as I said, like there's so much sort of heart in the characters and their performances. The performance of those actors is really extraordinary when you think about all the kind of discourse about Fincher movies and how bogged down they are with like how technical he is. That it's just really fun. Weirdly fun to watch, even though some of it's quite hard to watch. Do you want to talk about the violent stuff, Lucy?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't too much.
This film managed to be shocking without being gratuitous, it felt like. They obviously kick off the first 20 minutes with the first 2 attacks that you see, and they're pretty grim, right?
Yeah.
And then it's kind of, we're into the procedural aspects of it, the newspaper coverage, the police investigation, all that stuff. And it kind of gets glossed over. The violence kind of gets glossed over. And, I wouldn't say this film is as gratuitous as, say, Seven or as dark. Even though, Fincher doesn't generally flinch from that kind of stuff. I think he saw the potency of the investigation itself and the characters rather than like making something that's just really kind of I don't know, sensationalist and lurid. I think the most tense moment for me was the woman in the car with the baby.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I completely forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, horrible.
But you already know him at that point.
Yeah.
And so his interactions with her are really chilling.
Yeah.
All of them.
Spooky.
Because you don't know what he's going to do, and then what you find out he does, and then later you find out he didn't get the chance to do it.
Yeah.
It's like a real roller coaster.
Yeah. And then she hid the baby in case he came back.
Yeah.
Oh, so awful.
Yeah. In terms of themes, I think we've obviously got obsession and vanity, right? I think this is what I was getting into a little bit earlier, where I felt like there was a sense that Zodiac wanted to be a personality in people's lives. And so this is obvious play to the media, and it's messed up, right? That relationship, we'd nurture that kind of shit now in order to mine it for entertainment, right? The amount of kind of people that are either vulnerable in terms of their mental health, that have been exploited for ratings, or go mental after having found fame. It's kind of extraordinary. Not new. It happened in the 60s, but it feels that I was thinking about that while I was watching this. But yeah, vanity, the media, the power of the media, obsession, in all of its forms. They seem like they seem like the strongest kind of through lines in this film. Anything I'm missing?
I think what's interestingly missing is the motive for the Zodiac killer. I think Mindhunter does a really good job. I know they don't really look into the Zodiac, but there's like a sort of theme that they might be on to finding out who the Zodiac killer is in Mindhunter. But the nature of Mindhunter is they're really learning about serial killers and what drives them. And a lot of that is to do with childhood trauma or not liking women or whatever.
Yep. Yeah.
And they don't really look into that, particularly as some of his victims are male anyway, like the taxi driver, the two partners of the other girls, like the girl at the lake and the girl in the car. But yeah, I think that's lacking. And in so lacking that, then we can't really talk about anything to do with women, sadly. Boo. But yeah, I think the power of the media, for sure, it was already quite powerful then, but it's interesting looking back now, like you say, with celebrities. The first person that came to mind, because something's happened recently, was Katie Price, poor girl.
Did it make you think about the modern era or modern films?
It made me think, like, could this happen now? I know that serial killers still exist, but it's definitely harder to be a serial killer and a murderer these days. I know there are still unsolved murders, but with the way that we investigate, the technology we have, it's definitely harder. Dare I say, it was the heyday for such crimes.
It was if you wanted to do multiple crimes across different jurisdictions, because they didn't seem in any way connected together. In terms of just like technology, like, they still hadn't got fax machines. It's not like a collation of evidence and information that helps here. It takes Gray Smith to obsessively go through all these files, remember things. I love that bit where he has to basically just kind of ejaculate all these facts out onto a napkin in order to kind of remember them all. Yes! That was incredible.
With the discordant piano, that's what I had in my notes for that bit.
So yeah, it was like very... It's just fascinating how, like you say, you cannot move now without creating a record of your own sort of existence. And yet, in a bygone era where we needed to solve the case of a serial killer, they just weren't connected in that way. Whereas now we're connected in all the wrong ways.
In all the wrong ways.
I've just disconnected my esophagus from... Sorry about that.
It's funny because I needed to fart earlier and I thought, wouldn't that be funny if I farted so loudly it would be picked up by the mic, but I didn't do it. But I was doing little quiet burps, so I don't know if they got picked up. Probably did. Excuse me.
So you watched it recently and then you've rewatched it.
Yeah, I'd say within the last 5 years. Maybe a bit more.
Right.
Definitely within the last 10.
Is it a 5-star film for you? I don't know that I thought in terms of ratings at the time when I watched it, but I would have given it a 4 or a 5. And I think that goes now as well. Sorry. Yeah, I mean...
Please, can you keep all these burps in? We've both been really burpy tonight.
Sure. You're not burpy, I'm burpy.
I just burped.
Oh, did you?
You didn't even react.
I didn't. I was
so
busy.
used to hearing me
I was busy
burp.
looking something up.
I even said, excuse me after.
Did I say? That's okay. Yeah, you know, this is... I think it deserves a 5, but...
You're not going to give it one?
I would have given it a 4.
Why? What would have made it a 5?
Because there's it's just the endeavour. I'm sympathetic to the endeavour and just how well put together it is, right? And how everyone is amazing in it. All right, it's a 5 then.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, what's it missing that it needs to have given it a 5?
A conclusion. Yeah, I don't know. I'm very nervous about giving films full marks. I would say, even though all the characters are really great in it and funny to watch and absorbing, it's hard to feel much for them. There's no one you really get behind. You sympathise, but you don't... I'm not rooting for anyone in this film, really.
Really?
And it's not that kind of film. I know that.
Yeah.
But I'm being told a story of something that's happened, right? So I have to keep that in mind, that this was a real thing, and so that somehow it's not a fantasy. You can't like wholeheartedly invest in a character or a set of characters on an endeavour, right? In the same way that you can with just like a completely fictionalized story. So I don't know if that would have helped. But, you know, we're quibbling over half a star. It's fine.
Okay.
It's still an excellent film that I would recommend to anybody.
I guess I see your point, though, because if another film comes along that's better and you've given that 5 and this 5, then, yeah.
I was very quick to give No Country for Old Men 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
Because it has all of the excellence, all of the confidence and the swagger, and it looks amazing. And the pacing is fantastic. The performances are fantastic. But there are actual characters to get behind and people to dislike, but also be kind of weirdly fascinated by. There's more to do in your brain with those characters. This is a more of a passive viewing experience in that sense.
Sure.
You have to give in and kind of be told the story, and it's a little bit different. It's not that big a deal. All right, cool. Well, I think it feels like we did it then. Did we do it, Lucy?
We did it.
Zodiac, there you go. Folks, thanks for bearing with us while we talk through Zodiac. It turns out that it's really, really good. Yeah. Lucy likes it half a star more than I do for reasons.
And I've seen it loads of times.
If you would like to get in touch with us to suggest a film or to ask us politely to stop burping, then you can do that by emailing us at 07podcast@gmail.com. Or you can send us a comment on patreon.com/07podcast. Or just hit us up on the socials. You know what they are. Folks, bye. That's all from me. Lucy, anything else you want to add?
No, adios.
All right then. Till next time, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye.